So also this week, the FBI chased down three New York Times reporters who wrote about the Qatar Airlines switcheroo because apparently that airplane is not equipped with the same security systems as Air Force One. There were at least three reporters involved, maybe a few more. They actually hand delivered these subpoenas, Dan, which was shocking. It was shocking to the New York Times. It was shocking to them because, of course, there's a way for them to go through the newspaper to do this. But they're basically trying to intimidate these reporters to tell them what administration officials gave them the data about the airliner, which now it turns out is true. They've taken it offline and they are building anti-missile defense systems. Why not just admit it was true? So the president of the United States said it wasn't true, that that's not the reason why he didn't take the that airliner home. So
I mean, presidents have been obsessed with leaks for years, and Barack Obama, for instance, was declaring virtual war against journalists when he was president. There were any number of journalists who were threatened with jail if they didn't reveal their sources. Things actually got much better under Joe Biden, but now we see Donald Trump moving in the other direction and front loading it. Essentially, subpoenaing the journalists is the last step in the process if you can't get the information any other way. But this is just let's use the press and conduct a fishing expedition. Now, one thing I'm really waiting to see, David McCraw, the Times lawyer, submitted a brief to get this overturned, and the brief has been sealed, so I don't know what's in it. But in his public statement, he said it's a violation of the Constitution. And it really isn't. But obviously, he's making some sort of a constitutional argument in his brief, and I'm really dying to see what it is because this is a really bad moment for freedom of the press.
I mean, I suppose, Scott, a judge could just throw this out. But it's not unprecedented in terms of what the Trump administration has done. They've gone after other journalists like this. And then, as Dan points out, they are obsessed with stopping leaks. And I mean, Pete Hegseth has basically said he's going to jail people if he finds out who leaked data to these reporters and others.
They definitely have gone at it in a more publicly aggressive way. But presidents have been doing this for a century or more, or longer than that. And I think the Espionage Act that was passed in World War One is a real problem here, and it keeps being used to go after reporters. It goes back, I think, in World War II, the Chicago Tribune, after Midway, published a report saying that, hinting that the U.S. had cracked the Japanese naval code. Roosevelt was furious. I guess he wanted to prosecute the newspaper. They didn't use the Espionage Act. They used something else, and the case kind of died. But Trump is, yeah, I mean, he's like his spirit is really anti-media press, and it's kind of sad. I mean, the founders were they knew the importance of the press. I mean, Jefferson has that famous quote about I'd rather if I had to choose between a government and no newspapers or newspapers and no government, I choose the newspapers. You had Franklin was a his 18th century version of a media magnate. He made his fortune off printing and a newspaper. Adams, unfortunately, didn't come down to. He believed in freedom of the press, but he passed the Alien and Seditions Act, or he signed it. So he was a mixed bag. But it goes against this idea that they were the enemy or they're doing bad things. I mean, it's just so dumb and it's wrong and there's other ways they could probably get the information.
Lola, I actually, Scott raises a point. I started feeling like Trump was being defensive of his gift of this airline more than, and that's all he really cared about was that, you can't say anything bad about it. It's state of the art. He kept defending it and basically was saying that the reports were untrue at the same time, but now acknowledging it is. But to me, it almost was not about the leaks, but really about defending you know, this object. And we know how much he likes icons.
Well, I mean, I'd say, of course, he's defensive about he has to justify accepting a completely inappropriate gift from a foreign government. But I'm going to push back a tiny bit against Scott. I don't think Trump hates the press. I think he hates a free and independent press. I think that when you have a businessman running the government, they run it like a business, and he expects and would prefer if the media was his PR arm. That's not our job. The same way he uses the DOJ as if they're his personal legal team to do whatever he, as the CEO, wants them to do. It's really clear that this is about intimidation. There are
Mhm.
other ways to compel a reporter to get there, to access their sources. There are lots of already, there's a lot of precedent for ways that do work and ways that haven't worked. I think it's I think it was Reuters that pointed out that there's no federal shield law that protects reporters from having to testify before a grand jury. There's no anti-SLAPP legislation, I believe, at the federal level, though Massachusetts has it, Rhode Island has it, I think Florida has it, that would protect reporters against frivolous lawsuits that are clearly intended to intimidate and not actually to uphold the law. The fact that what the reporters reported turned out to be true shows that the actual issue here is about the leaks, not about the reporting. And that's what Hegseth is going after. He's not saying that he's going to prosecute journalists. He's saying he's going to
Right.
prosecute the leakers. And so this is a problem with Trump, where the call is coming from inside the house, and instead he's looking at the people receiving the call and lashing out.